Welcome to this week's episode of Forgiving the Girl Inside. Today we have special guest Shawna Cale, who's going to share her healing journey from normal to exceptional. She is an author, speaker, physical therapist, life coach, holistic health practitioner, and she has this amazing, incredible book, and we just welcome you. How are you today, Shawna?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me to have the conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear your journey. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. Well, I am a mom of three. So my oldest is 24, my youngest is 14. In that time span, I had three miscarriages after each of my children. So part of my healing journey was going through that. After the third miscarriage in the 10-year period, I almost died, which kind of was a wake-up call that things needed to change. So I started making some changes, and that's really pretty much where my healing journey started. Was after I shouldn't even say after I left the hospital. It really started in the moment I was in the ambulance, because when I was in the ambulance and I was praying for my family inside, the paramedic was putting electrodes on my chest. And having worked in the medical field for many, many years as a physical therapist, I knew that wasn't good. I was, thinking I was awake and my brain is going, and he's putting these on and I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, I'm just, getting things ready. If we need to do this, this is for your own good. And it just came to me at that moment. I was like, should I pray for myself? Because I had just thought, like, here I am praying for everybody else that they're not concerned about me. Like, I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to be, Wonder Woman, all these things. And he goes, that would be a good idea. And it was kind of in that moment that the light bulb came on that I needed to take care of myself, and I wasn't doing a very good job of it. And so yeah, that's kind of where the moment of things need to change. It was a good year journey from there before changes really started occurring. But once they did, for the last 10 years, it's been amazing, not only to learn new things for myself, but then to take that information. I've always had a teacher heart to teach others, specifically women, how they can go from normal to exceptional. A lot of times people ask me, like, what does that even mean? And my best way of
Yeah.
explaining it is, for so long, I heard anything I had a problem with, and it was just normal. So I was on the hormonal emotional roller coaster from like 13 to 39. And I was just told it was normal. After each of my miscarriages, even the one where I almost died, my doctor, I know that he was just trying to make me feel better. He would just say, this is just normal. And all I could think when I was lying in that hospital bed when I almost died is, if this is normal, normal is highly overrated. Like, I don't want to live a normal life. Like, I want something more. Um, I really just thought it was ridiculous. Like, this can't be normal, right? And what I
Yeah.
realized is that so many of us women live in this state of stress, which is where I was at, but I wasn't even aware. Like, I could see it in my patients. I would say, your neck muscles are all tight, your back muscles are tight, this has happened because you're stressed out. And I couldn't even see it in myself. And so it was really just learning to not only take care of myself, but to understand that normal in today's world is women that are overwhelmed, stressed out, tired, exhausted. I call it energyless, because I just did not have any energy. And it wasn't just a physical energy, it was that spiritual energy. It was that emotional energy, just to be able to deal with the day. I homeschooled three kids. And so a lot of times I would say, I would wake up in the morning and I would just tell my family, like, I'm done. Like, I was already here. So even if they did the littlest thing, I mean, it would just flip my lid, and, I would blow up like a volcano and spew out whatever was going to come out of my mouth. And I was tired of that. Like, I didn't want to live. If that was normal, that's not the life I wanted to live. And so I really don't even know where the word exceptional came from. I laugh. I say, maybe this day that it kind of came into my mind, it was my son's spelling word or something. I don't know. It wasn't a word that I used back in 2010. But as a physical therapist, my husband and I had a physical therapy clinic. And in the clinic, it was a bad day. It was one of those days that I did not want to be at work. I wanted to be at home under the covers. My head was killing me. I was on my cycle. I was just, I was done. And this client that I had, this patient, was a man that was 29 years old. He was 10 years younger than me at the time. I was 39. And I'm looking through his list of first medications. He was on 20 plus medications. I was on 0 medications.
Wow.
He had, diagnosis after diagnosis. He was obese. He had diabetes. He had high blood pressure. It was just list after list, And I'm going through this, and he had checked mark his health as good. And I was thinking, I couldn't even mark that. Like if I had gone to the doctor that day, I would have wanted to click poor, but I might have checked fair, right? I might have given myself the benefit of the doubt. And as bad as I felt that day, I was like, I had questions. I'm like, okay, so you have da 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 da, right? But you feel like your health is good. And he's like, oh yeah, I got, a good bill of health from the doctor to have his shoulder surgery that he was in for because his arthritis was so bad. He's 29 years old. He has 4 kids in the waiting room with his wife. And I'm thinking, if this is good health, like I don't want good health. I don't want,
Take it.
I don't. And so back to the normal to him, the doctor saying that, the medications are taking care of this, the medication's taking care of that, the medication's taking care of this. Yet he's still having to have surgery for what it's doing to his shoulder at the age of 29. He's in there for physical therapy. And the word exceptional just came to my mind. It was like, I want better than good. Like I want something totally different than normal, because this is what I saw every day, patient after patient, that, this was just normal. And I'm like, that shouldn't be. A 29-year-old male should not be dealing with almost as many medications as he is age. And he was 10 years younger than me. And I'm like, where am I going? Like, where am I headed? And it even got me started to think, like, should I go take the antidepressants? Should I go do all the things that the doctor was telling me that I was saying no to because I didn't feel like it was right for me? And I was not even, like, I was so medically minded. I was not even in a holistic world that I am today. At the time, I just knew, working with pharmacists, all the side effects that were affecting my patients in other ways when they were using the medications that I didn't personally want to be on medication. But I thought, am I hurting myself by not doing it? And then I just looked at this man as I continued to evaluate him and go, this is not good health. The guy cannot get up off the, table at 29. We're walking, it's his shoulder we're working on, yet he's, like it wasn't good. And it set me on a path of something different. I decided I need to choose something different because I want to be able to help people in a way that normal isn't normal anymore. Like normal is good. Normal is feeling good, not being stressed out, and having the energy to do the things you love to do. So that led me to writing a book that the Lord called me to do in 2011. It just took me 10 years to do it.
How stubborn are you?
Yes, very much so.
Why were you afraid to write it?
Well, what happened was in 2010 is when I had my miscarriage. And that year was, like I said, that was a summer that I had had the guy that I did that was my patient. And then that fall, I went and saw a naturopath, which was the first time I'd even, like I said, I had to Google what naturopath was because I didn't even know what it was. So I started going down this natural route, and I woke up in January of 2011, have had a dream. Now, between that time, that summer, that exceptional came into my mind in this January of 2011. Exceptional, the word was kind of like a beacon to me. I wasn't really sure what it was. Like, I didn't know where I was going with it. I just knew I didn't want normal. Good wasn't good enough. So the road I was traveling was the exceptional road. I just didn't know what the exceptional road was. So I was doing a lot of research. I was learning a lot. I was praying and praying and praying a lot. And I woke up and I just grabbed a piece of cardboard that was sitting next to my bed, that comes in like a book, like to keep it from getting all messed up. It was like sitting next to my bed from a Christmas gift, grab a pen. And the Lord had given me these letters, EXSEPSHNL. all I could see was like letters written on the wall. I woke up, I knew I needed to write it down. I didn't know what it meant. I just knew like I needed to write it. And then I was like, well, what's EX? Well, as a physical therapist for 20 plus years at the time, I'm like, okay, this is exercise, right? So I write exercise down, and then I'm like, okay, what's the S? And then it was like, I just knew it was spiritual. So I write spiritual down, and then it was emotional, and then it was physical, then it was sleep, hydration, life, living, investing, finances, energy. So I'm just writing all these things down. And I'm like, the Lord just gave me like the exceptional formula right here. Because as I read it across, it was a mnemonic for the word exceptional, if you sound it out. And I'm like, cool. And I'm happy. And I'm like, yes. And then I felt the calling. And I don't know, Lisa, if you've ever felt called to do something, but I felt called to be a physical therapist. Like I knew without a doubt in my mind that I was supposed to be a physical therapist. I felt called to homeschool my kids, even though I fought it and didn't want to do it. And now I've done it for like 17 years. I have felt the calling before, right? And when I felt the Lord say, I gave you this to write a book, I was like, I don't write books. I'm not an author. But I'm willing to learn what the exceptional formula is and what it can do for me and what it can do for others and teach. And so I just started writing a book without writing a book, just writing information down. I don't even, people laugh. I have so many journals and notebooks. It's not even funny, but probably 2013, I was like, I just kept hearing the calling, right? And I thought, okay, this is it. I'm going to do it. And started learning about how to write a book and started writing. And at the same time, I was building a business at home. I was homeschooling my kids. Like really my life was everything I wanted it right now. It was like, I don't need to write a book. All is good. I can send people to other people that have written books. I read books every day. I'm like, I suck in, learn. So I stopped. I put it on, I still wrote things and learned things and put it into action. I taught it on Saturdays. I had exceptional morning brunches on Saturdays. So it wasn't that I wasn't teaching it. I just wasn't putting it in a book format. And then 2017, I think it was, I was working with a coach and we're talking and she's like, what do you feel like is stopping you? And she's not even talking about the book. I'm just like, I don't know. I think I know God's called me to write a book and I feel maybe if I don't finish this book, nothing else is going to change or happen. Like, I'm just like, I know I'm not being obedient. Right. And she's like, why not? I'm like, so many people write books. Like there's nothing new in it. And she's like, but it's your story. And I'm like, but I don't want people to know my story. Like, can I just keep my story to myself? And so it was really a process between 2017 and then the summer of 2019 of me saying yes, no, that I kind of got online the summer of 2019 and said, okay, I am writing a book. Y'all are going to have to hold me accountable. It'll be available January 2020 because I was giving myself 6 months to write this book and, I was going to make it happen. And oh my, between that moment of saying it and it publishing last month, which was January of 2021, the Lord took me on a whole new journey writing the book, which I thought in the 10 years before that, like I'd already walked the journey, but I grew so much more in that year. So, I know your title is about forgiveness. During that year and a half of walking through the process, walking other people kind of like me not seeing the stress in my own life. I didn't see some of the areas that I still needed to work on, and one of them being forgiveness. So I had worked for years on forgiving others. I tell in my book my own personal story of childhood trauma. I was molested from 3 different men in my childhood before the age of 10. And then I never forgave that little girl. And that was a process I had to walk through. And first I learned before I could even walk through the process of forgiveness, I had to walk through the process of trust. And so, there was this time of just really working on not only trusting God and trusting people, but trusting myself that I didn't
Mhm.
even know that that was an issue, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. 100%. I'm getting chills right now. 100% relate.
And then it was walking through forgiveness of, like I said, the little girl inside. I even went to a week long, it's kind of like a camp, but you go home each day, but you walk through the process. And so it was more or less my process was walking through the forgiveness of the little girl inside. And yeah, in the midst of all this, I'm writing a book and I'm like, what more can, what more can there be? And I was really close to the end of writing it. And a wonderful woman that is also a coach, we're friends, like she's, just one of those people. It was at nighttime, we're texting back and forth. And I asked her this question of, I feel kind of stuck in this area. Do you have any suggestions? And she says, I don't know if you know what sway testing is, Lisa, or if your audience knows what sway testing is, but it's a type of muscle testing to ask yourself questions.
Mhm.
And so she asked me to ask myself the question of love and hate.
Okay.
Now, normally we think of love as this good, wonderful thing and hate as this terrible, bad thing, right? And so with
Mhm.
sway testing, the way it works is those things that your belief system, what I call the spiritual part of us, believes. If we're following that, we're going to kind of fall forward on a sway test. And if we're fighting against it, or if we're not agreeing with it, if we're not in agreement, the best word I can put, then you fall backwards.
Mhm.
And so, my mind saying, well, you're going to fall forward when you say love and you're going to fall backwards when you say hate. But I don't know why she's asking me to ask this question. So I get up out of my recliner and it's late at night and I do it and I fall backwards for hate and I fall backwards for love. And I'm like texting her back. I'm like, okay, why did you ask me to do that? Because I just got a negative, more or less, for both love and hate. And she goes, I have no idea. So we knew it was a God thing. And I know I walked through the path that I walked through to get to that moment because I was ready for it. 10 years ago, if
Mhm.
I'd found that out, I probably wouldn't have been ready for it. But walking through the process, I realized one, that I put a lot of conditions on myself. I put a lot of conditions on others,
Yeah.
expectations, perfectionism, which got me where I was those first 39 years in the first place, right? Here I've walked this journey for 10 years plus, and I'm thinking, I'm writing a book, helping other people, yet there's still this piece of the puzzle that, like, what's love got to do with it, right? And I realized that for me, love wasn't necessarily a positive, and it started making things make sense in my life. It wasn't that I didn't have love in my life, and it wasn't that I didn't love others. But for me, there was always conditions involved. Even when it came to self-care, I had spent 10 years of really learning great ways for self-care. But hey, again, it was a condition that I put on myself. Like, you need to get up in the morning and you need to do this, 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 and this to take care of yourself so that you're healthy and well, which is great. But I wouldn't love myself until I did it, right? That's not
Right.
loving yourself. That's just putting conditions on yourself. And so then it was a process of walking myself through that, through, loving myself unconditionally. And then
Mhm.
it was taking that leap of faith of going, okay, if I write all this in a book, what are people going to really think about me? Because I've always been the person that has it all together. I'm the person, there was things that I just didn't tell people, whether it was my past or even my present, or mostly what I was feeling and what I was thinking. And when I was going through my stressful state, like, my life looked perfect, yet I wanted to run away. How can I tell people? How can you tell your husband that for years, honey, I just wanted to run away? Right. Um, and there were times that I didn't, it'd be like, I knew it was something going on. I just didn't know what it is. Now that I know that I was in a stress state, and stress state is the fight, flight, or freeze response. And
Yeah.
my response at that time was flight. If I wasn't fighting you, I was wanting to leave, but I was staying. Or to the point after my last miscarriage, I was in the freeze state. Like, I felt like I wasn't good for anything. It's funny to hear your kids' viewpoint afterwards. It got me to set down, like, they had my full attention. I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't doing anything. So their memory of it is totally different than mine. Um, but it's just interesting to walk through the journey. So really in my book, I help people to understand that we don't have to live what people so often say is the normal life. And I think so often, at least for me, I took all those emotions from my childhood and I just stuffed them down and I pretended if they didn't exist, then I wasn't the victim. But the truth of the matter is I victimized my inner child by not giving her a voice and
Yeah.
not loving her and not telling her that she was forgiven, that she was a little girl, right?
Right.
So I say I don't know when the exceptional life will be complete, right? I mean, I'm still working on that. I say it's a journey, it's a road. Every day I get to decide, am I going to go down the normal road or am I going to go down the exceptional road? Most days I choose the exceptional road. Some days I am very resistant and I'm going to go down the normal road because I just want to, and that's okay. Like we all have to make choices each day. I found when I'm going down the exceptional road, I have less stress. I'm a much nicer mom, wife, and friend, right? And I have more energy to do the things I want to do. And I don't feel like the energy is just sucked out of me. And I want that for other women. I want them to know that there is more to life than just feeling like this is it. Like I've done all that I've done for this right here, type thing, that there really is a lot more.
That is a beautiful, beautiful story. I just love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And it is so true. I think I've talked to a lot of women who don't forgive themselves. They don't trust themselves. And there's always that underlining, well, there must have been something wrong with me. And that's why, or they're so afraid to dig that deep because they don't want to know what they're going to uncover. And if they do decide to uncover it, they want to burn it off. They don't want those memories to be written down for someone else to see. Not understanding that they can truly help somebody who's walked that path, that is walking that path now. So thank you for sharing that vulnerability. If you could give advice to our audience, someone watching this that your story is really resonating with, they're going to get your book, they're going to connect with you. What would be a few words that you would say to them?
Yeah. So one of the things I like to share with people, actually the first chapter of my book is called The Penny. So I always have a penny or two around. One of the things that I realized is in my own personal story is I always shared the head story. I always told all the good things. I tried to stay positive. Let's look at the bright side, the good side. You always hear that poem about find a penny, pick it up, then all day you'll have good luck, right? But I was always told you don't pick up the penny that's on the tail side, right? You just leave it alone. Well, I actually found the poem and it doesn't say that. The poem actually says for you to pick the penny up and to share it with somebody else and you'll always have good luck. Something like that. Not saying exactly right, but it's in my book. What I realized is that all of my good stories, the head stories that I wanted everybody to know, I thought that's what people wanted to hear. And what I realized is that I am both sides of that penny. And the side of the tail, what I call the tail story in there, which are the harder stories that I don't always tell, whether I'm online or, speaking at an engagement or whatever, I tell the happy head stories, right? And when I was writing the book and started sharing my tail side of the story, not only was I raw and vulnerable, but it was like I was letting people see the whole me, both sides of the penny. But what I think, and going back to the unconditional love and conditional love, is so often we don't think we're worthy because of this tail side. And if there's anything I can tell women that are out there listening right now, is your whole penny, both sides, is what makes you who you are. And you cannot, if you don't pick up that penny, it's not worth anything, right? So it's like, pick up the penny. This penny is worth something. I know we only look at it worth 1 cent, but oh my goodness, do you remember as a child getting 1 penny? How, like, you were just so excited, right? That's how God feels about us. Like, he is so excited. And it's not because we're on the head side or the tail side. Like, he takes that penny in. And we are worthy of love. We're worthy to love ourselves. We're worthy of other people's love, and both sides. right? So, sharing our stories of the hard times sometimes is what connects us with those people that feel like they're alone. I thought I was alone. I didn't know for years how many women out there, one, went through the trauma that I went through. I remember at one point, and I share in my book, I kind of thought that something maybe happened to most people, right? And so most little girls, like that was normal. And I had a friend that was just like, her eyes just, grew big, and she was so surprised. I thought, well, this is something you don't tell people, right? Like, that it doesn't happen to everybody. And so it became that secret to keep, to not let anybody hear. And then I'd hear other people, but man, they were all messed up. Like I would hear, and I'm like, well, I don't want people to think I'm all messed up, right? Which I was inside, but on the outside, everything looked great. So let's just keep it that way. And then when I started going through the miscarriages, it's like, I can handle it. I've got, by the third, I've got 3 kids. Like I can look at the positive side. I can look at the good. And again, I wasn't allowing myself to grieve. I wasn't allowing myself to feel. I was just holding it all down. And that stress can cause a lot of problems, internal storms.
Yes.
So.
Yes, I like how you put that internal storms. This is exactly what it does. And we don't realize that we need to forgive ourselves and process those thoughts. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful story. I have to get your book. I haven't gotten it yet.
Yes.
Definitely going to get it. So tell us some more about that. You want to share the...
So again, it's called Bye Bye Normal, Hello Exceptional, because that's what I want to do. I want to say goodbye to the normal. Really normal, like I said, is stressed out, overwhelmed, diabetes, obesity, all the things that we hear. If you look at the percentages, 50% plus, right, have it. Even cancer, they're saying, you have 1 in 3 of chance. I'm like, not in my house, right? That might be the norm out there, but that's not what I want in my home. And so exceptional is really looking at those things and saying, no, it doesn't have to be that way. And then the last part says living a life of less stress and more energy. Following the exceptional formula that I walk people through in the book, people believe that, I can't do these things and it's going to make that big of a difference. The last chapter 12, I took 12 ladies through the exceptional formula. I call it the Exceptional Health Masterclass. I did not know that I was going to make them chapter 12, but I got through my book of 11 chapters. I'm like, you have to have 12. And then I was like, all of a sudden I just had 12 ladies in my group, right? And so I think there's 9 of them that shared their stories within it, but it was a beautiful process of walking them through, not just me going through the exceptional formula. And like I said, for almost 10 years, I've shared it. People have used parts of it. It's just not been in a book format. It wasn't in a course format where, you were specifically going through the process. So the book really leads you on a roadmap. I call it my walk and talk. I walk with you. I talk with you through the process to really be able to put it into effect and have a life of less stress. We think of all the stressors out there. We don't have to take them all on.
Right.
That's our choice. Again, it's normal just to take it on and worry about it and all that, things that are going on today. You don't have to. There's so many tips and tools and techniques out there that we can let the stressors stay stressors out here. They're going to be there. There's always going to be storms out there, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have to take them in. And one of the things I use as an example are trees. Trees either become stronger from storms, or if their roots aren't deep, they fall down.
Topple over, yeah.
And so the exceptional formula is really about building those roots nice and deep, so that a way when those storms come, you're not having to take them in and it's not going to knock you down.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. And for the audience out there, thank you for joining us today. If you know someone who could resonate with this, who needs to get in touch with Shawna, please share this video with them. Hit the subscribe button and tap the bell so you can be notified of the next video. We air these every Tuesday with a new woman sharing a real story, a real life story. So one of these stories is definitely going to connect and you don't want to miss them. So thank you again, Shawna, for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, and have an amazing day.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Lisa.